All right, so welcome back. So we're talking about the floods that happened yesterday in the evening, through the night. Some people didn't sleep. Some people's rooms were flooded.
Yeah.
My experience yesterday was really simple. I just decided that, look, I understand the road from work to home quite well.
Okay.
I mean, after 2 years of doing the back and forth,
Of course.
you know what your road looks like. And so I just decided that, you know something, just stay put in the office, ride out the rain. And then not just the rain itself, but also give a little time for receding of the waters.
Yeah.
So about 30 minutes to maybe an hour after the rains completely subsided, then I set off to go home.
So what time was this?
So it was after 9.
Okay.
It was
Wow, so you stayed
after
from after 9.
Oh yeah, it was after 9. But the flood waters, after they receded, the debris, oh man.
That's another issue.
Yeah. It just shows you the level of filth that are in our gutters, because that's what's happening. It's the water is literally excavating the gutters and evacuating the gutters and putting all the debris onto the road.
Giving us a clear picture of our lives.
Yes.
And our attitudes.
Yes.
So when it started raining, I was home.
Okay.
But I mean, occasionally I will stand on my balcony to check the intensity of the rain.
Yeah.
So after about 2 hours, I was convinced that Accra will flood.
Yeah.
So at a point, I just had to go on social media. I had to be checking the city news page, to look at videos and pictures. And it was terrible. It was so dangerous. I mean, even watching videos, it was scary,
Yeah.
So there was a video about the floods around Malam area. And I am very familiar, with that area. And it was terrible. And I understand how this would be like. Because right from the Malam Junction all the way to like Weja Junction, going to the West Hills Mall, it was going to be disastrous, because anytime it rains, at some portion, especially around the toll booth area, you have the sand washing down onto the road. So part of the road or half of the road will be blocked because there's too much sand there, there's water there, the roads are bad. You come down to around the Kokobite Junction area, and that is another big problem there. Now, it will flow all the way to, the McCarthy Hill road, and then it goes to Malam. This is the Malam Junction area. This is a road and not a river. Yeah, exactly. And
this is crazy.
It can be extremely dangerous.
This is crazy.
That thing is very, very scary. I mean, I have had to use that road one morning when it was raining. At a point, I didn't know whether to continue the journey. I couldn't also go back. It was just prayers, because at that time it was between me and my God. And I just got, God save me, God take me safely to work. It is that serious. And
I mean, we shouldn't have to. Suddenly lift up prayers every time it rains, because you see that's where we are now. Because people will lose their homes, people will lose their vehicles, not to talk of people who may lose their lives, right? Every single time it rains now. But that's because Accra's planning is in shambles.
Exactly.
The entire city.
Now, how resilient is the city anyway?
It's a chaotic place as far as the planning is concerned. All right. Now, what was it that Dr. Baumia said? He said that the something will expose you.
Oh, the fundamentals. He said something, the fundamentals will expose you. Not the fundamentals.
But the fundamentals are exposing us, the city.
Yes. Because we keep saying
when the
that
rain falls, the fundamentals will expose the resilience of the city.
We keep saying, that we are working about the problem. We are dredging, we are demolishing stuff and all that. But how is that helping in any way? At the end of the day, we don't want to lose lives. We don't want to lose property. So whatever is being done, how effective is that strategy? Is it working at all? Is it just that we want to score political points, and what exactly is the problem? Look at that.
We have this thing there's a phrase, it's a tree phrase. In Shishenim. That's our attitude. Our attitude to everything that we do is in Shushenim.
So these pictures, you know, are from Techiman. It rained there yesterday as well. So now it goes beyond Accra. So we don't have, this problem is not just Accra. It's happening in Techiman. It's happening in the Ashanti region, in the eastern region. Now that is like the sea,
and in Cape Coast.
Exactly. So the whole of the country, what are we doing? Look at that, like the sea. Flooding. You can tell that the drains are full.
Let's ask the question: why is the hinterland not flooding?
Well, because probably they are not building in areas like that.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Fremont, that's the point.
And we don't have everywhere being concrete.
This is the issue. So as long as you make the ground hard, right, water will flow on top.
Yeah.
It can't sink. Okay. So what we are doing in Accra is basically we've created, so Accra is a basin. Okay. We need to understand this.
Yeah.
Circle is probably the lowest point in the entire city. All right. If you think about it well, you are coming from Achimota, you are descending towards Circle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There may be a little climb up and down, whatever, but generally you are descending towards Circle. Then when you get to Circle, you are ascending all the way towards Accra Central.
Yeah.
Literally. I think the biggest ascent is from Adabraka to Kingsway, Swansea Arcade area. It climbs all the way up. It descends again and then climbs up again from Makola upwards to High Street.
It looks like that's the kind of makeup of Accra, you know?
So Circle is at the base and it's below sea level, right? So which literally means that all the waters flow and come down here. Now we have pockets of areas like this in Accra.
Like the Weja area, the Essex area.
Yes.
And I'm convinced that place is terrible.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
sure,
all low-lying.
Anytime it rains, we've done lots of reports there, you know.
Yeah.
You go there and people have to leave their homes because the water is at knee level.
Yeah.
And it is not worrying.
Listen, about 5 years ago, I did a little bit of an investigative, piece like this. And I found out there were areas around the Alajo area. I noticed that, look, there were homes I went into. There's this giant gutter, trying to remember, around Caprice. Okay, so from Caprice towards Alajo, this huge storm drain there. Look, yes, there's people living along the storm drain, right? The water had flooded into their rooms to, above their standing level. So if you're standing in your room, the water will be above your head, right? And these are people's rooms. These are people's rooms, right? So even the knee level is child's play. Because knee level, you are standing in it and you say, you know what, I'm just praying, oh God, let the water not rise any higher. This one is through the roof. Right,
so as far back as 2015, 2021 and 2021, right?
Yes.
So 6 years ago.
Yes.
The Graphic Online did a story that's profiling the flood issues in Ghana since 1968. And the topic for that was flood disaster profile of Ghana since 1968. No, it starts from July 4, 1968. Accra records heaviest rainfall in 9 years, meaning that 9 years ago, from 1968, we were recording floods.
Which was 51.
Exactly, we were recording floods. Now, it says Accra registered a record rainfall of 5 inches in the last 9 years. A spokesperson for the Meteorological Services said the heaviest rain ever recorded in the city fell in June 1959, when a volume of 7.56 inches was registered. The rain nearly brought normal life in the city to a standstill, with offices and shops closed and school children taking a French leave.
Yeah.
So it goes on with June 29, 1971. So this means that 1959, we recorded some heavy floods. And Ghana was only 2 years. So the flooding started in Gold Coast. Because 9 years ago then, we didn't have Ghana. So 1957, 2 years on, we recorded a heavy rainfall. What a way to celebrate independence,
I know.
And then it goes on June 29, 1971. So it means that from 1968 now to 1971, another major issue, houses collapsed in the Twin City. The twin city of Sekondi Takoradi saw one of the worst floods in Ghana in recent years following a downpour which started at night. Several hundreds of dwelling houses collapsed, rendering thousands of people homeless. So it looks like the story is getting worse and worse and worse, you know, and we are moving on.
Yes.
So this is 1971. Now, we move on all the way to 1995.
Yes.
And we have July 5. 1995, flood havoc. Rains which started at midnight caused flooding by morning in low areas of the Accra metropolis. The flood not only affected commuters and vehicles, but also the Achimota VRA substation, resulting in power cuts.
Yeah.
So you realize that it keeps getting terrible. It keeps getting dangerous, you know. So at some point, the places were flooded. Now houses are collapsing. Now the substation is also gone. There's power cut. Now you come down to June 13, 1997, just 2 years after Accra floods. Hours of intermittent downpour for 2 days in Accra caused floods which threatened to cut communication in various parts of the city. Some roads in the metropolis were affected, making it difficult for motorists to ply them. Major rivers such as the Odo and Onyasia appeared on the brink of breaking their banks, forcing some residents to desert their homes for higher and safer grounds. The water in these rivers rose steadily when the rain started about 3 p.m., raising fears of a possible flood disaster as happened on July 4, 1995, and claimed lives and property. So you realize that this time around, we are dying. Now let's come to 1999. In 1999, floods swept through the Upper West, the Upper East, and the northern regions, as well as the northern parts of the Bunahafo and the Volta regions. 300,000 people were affected. 300,000 people were affected.
Yeah. And now in June 28th, 2001, floods again. It's the worst in Accra since July 4th, 1995. An early morning downpour submerged portions of the city, with many houses and structures at Medina, Achimota, Jolu, Aveno, Santa Maria, and Adabraka official town being affected. Residents of the affected areas who were trapped by the floodwaters had to climb to safety on trees and rooftops until they were rescued or the floodwaters subsided. And in 2007, the story goes on. In 2007, floods hit the Upper West, Upper East, and northern regions. 307,127 people were affected. 307,127 people were affected. Right. So this is coming from the June 5th, 2015 graphic online publication.
Right.
And we're getting all these updates. They did a nice piece there to show us the flood profile of Accra. The next one is the 5th of May.
Right. So we go on to May 5, 2010, rains caused havoc. And then, so it talks about in the central Accra of Anko and Begro. Now, June 22, 2010, we also have another nation's worst flood disaster. Now, death toll was 35. Now, so it says 35 bodies were retrieved from floodwaters across the country by volunteers and rescue workers who described the havoc after the rains as the worst flood disaster in Ghana's recent history. Now, from June 22, June 24, 2010 as well, Swedro cut off by floods. Now, 3 bridges connecting the Aguna-Swedro municipality to neighboring communities collapsed as a result of the flood. Now, June 26, so it looks like 2010 was a very disastrous year for the nation. So June 26, 2010, NADMO registers 3,000 flood victims in Aguna-Swedro. So it looked like Aguna-Swedro was kind of very well hit, you know, as a result of the flood. We move on to October 14, 2010. Floods displayed 161,000 nationwide. You know, so this is also still in 2010. Now, 4 days after, that is October 18, 2010, floods submerged 55 communities. You know, so it's getting terrible, disastrous by the year. Now, after the October 18, we move on to November 2, 2010, floods caused havoc in Afram Plains, and 2,800 people in 120 villages and towns along the Volta Lake in the Kwawu East, Kwawu South, and Kwawu North districts in the eastern region were rendered homeless by floods. Now you move on So he says that the floods also destroyed 850 buildings, farms, markets, and roads.
Yeah. And February 24th, 2011, we have heavy rains caused havoc in Accra. A downpour wreaked extensive havoc on property in most parts of Accra and some of its surrounding communities. The property of residents of areas such as Adabaka, Kiseman, Alajo Junction, Elang at Santa Maria, Oyarifa, Hacho, Adenta, and the Timber Market were either submerged or washed away. According to an official of the Meteorological Service Agency, Miss Felicity Ahasiano, the rainfall, which began from 9:30 p.m. to almost 3 a.m., measured 71.5 millimeters, which she described as quite heavy.
So you notice that, coming down from earlier, from 68 down to the 90s and all, we were having rains, with some kind of years, in between. But you realize that now we are having them annually. Now it's beginning to be monthly. And even the monthly, we are now having it weekly, because you have, at some point, you have June 10, June 11, June 16.
There was an October 14th and then an October 18th.
So we are moving on still in July 20, 2011. We have heavy floods in Tiwa district. Then July 25, 2011, floods kill 5 at Tiwa, cause damage in other areas. Now, November 1, 2021, 43,000 displaced by Accra floods, 14 deaths recorded. May 31, 2013, morning downpour causes floods in Accra. Now, June 6, 2014, we have a problem. Deluge hits Accra, more rains predicted. Accra's poor planning was exposed when a deluge hit the national capital after more than 10 hours of downpour. Now, July 4, 2014, we have heavy rains leave havoc in Trail. Heavy rains resulted in havoc with the worst hit areas in Accra, such as Anya, Taifa, Dome, Niboy Town. It mentions the community as well. So now, this just ends at 2014.
2014, yes.
But we were faced with a disaster the year after.
The year after,
Exactly 1 year after.
So June 3rd of 2015, massive flooding in Accra at Circle, and then the explosion that happened at the fuel station
Circle
there.
area, the Vienna City area,
terrible.
A twin disaster at that. People flooded, fire burning. I mean, I have never seen such that. It felt like a movie, and the life that we lost, a number of
terrible. 126 lives that night, I mean,
and we are in it this morning. The story continues. So if we are profiling, I think this morning or last night's rain will be the very latest update that we have. We have reports from across the capital to show you, and we also go over, to certain parts of the country as well. We earlier show you some visuals from Techiman and that you saw. So it's not just in Accra, but Accra is quite terrible when it comes to floods. So let's go. Duke Mensah Opoku, our colleague, put a report together on yesterday's floods. Let's take a look at that.
Because our battery flood behind all this side. There's no flood here. You will tell them. Make us see us. Good evening. So let me catch you briefly. You've observed what is going on around here with regards to the floods. We just want to speak to you briefly, what you've seen so far, and then the traffic situation. here, so just briefly, if you'll be on standby for us. What's the name, please?
Kaneshi to pick a car, and if I get to Kaneshi to, and it's the same thing, I have to walk from Kaneshi to Odoko, which is quite unfortunate. I don't know whether it's because of the construction which is going on here, or it's because of the poor drainage facilities around. That's what I can say.
So on the regular, how different would this have been without the rains coming down at this moment?
Okay, without the rain being come down like this time, I think here could have been flooded, and even no car can pass through here. I think the government has to do something about this side. It's quite unfortunate. Just about an hour or 2 hours or so, which the rain just started, and it's quite unfortunate. We can't endure this.
Okay, thank you very much. So the situation here at the Royal House Chapel, just near the Royal House Chapel, the main headquarters of the Royal House Chapel. That is the situation here. The rains have actually, subsided in terms of its downpour, but the impact and the effect is glaring. The rainwater, it's throwing up a lot of the sanitation issues. The rubbish is up here, and the traffic is just it's not moving, virtually at a standstill, because of the impact of the rains and the construction that is also going on just behind us, the new Obichebi-Lamte interchange. So that's what is currently going on here, Vivian.
All right, so you saw some visuals there from Duke at the Obichebi Lamte Circle area, the Royal House area. Now that's another difficult area, when it comes to rainfall. Every time it rains, that area floods. And the drainage is terrible around that area.
The scary aspect of this whole thing is, this is what happened in June 3, 2015.
Yes.
It rained for hours. People, those who had to walk were walking, those who had to find their ways to.
Yes.
And in fact, the sad part was others also decided to park, at the filling station just to make sure that they are safe. And that was where people met their untimely death, So over 100 people died, with several others also being faced with internal injuries, quite terrible situation there. So now the danger is when it's raining, you don't even know where it's safe for you anymore. Should you stand somewhere? Should you be moving? What do you do? Because buildings probably may collapse on you. There could be an explosion. Anything can happen. And this is the reality on the ground.
That we live with. And this morning, I think on the news, I heard, some people parked their vehicle and hung onto the railing just to, because it's like, look, if I move my car, I don't know whether I'm going off the road or I'm still going to be on the road. So whatever support that they had there, because of the flood waters were rising, so just literally hang onto the railing and just wait till the water subsides. We need to be able to do something practical that will be permanent, to deal with this flooding.
Now the situation in Adabraka was terrible, because anytime it rains, there is serious issues, serious flooding in Adabraka, around the Sahara area. And I don't know how we're going to be doing this, but every year we know this would happen. In fact, we are waiting for 2022 floods as of today, because we know they are coming.
Well, look, the rains haven't ended yet, and it's interesting because this year usually we have two rainfall season, rainfall months in the year. So we have the May one, the May-June one, and then we have the October-November one, right? But all through August, was it not raining in Accra? It was raining through August. So I'm like, the rain didn't really. So that also speaks to climate change issues and all of that we've been talking about. That of course people are not taking seriously because we don't really think that it's anything that's important. But when you think about it, the more saturated a ground is with water, the more likely we are to get flooding when the next rain comes. Do you see?
So the AMA has put some documents together. You know, there's a book on Accra Resilience Strategy. You know, I think we should all find that book and read. It tells the plans that they have. In fact, it's a beautiful document, you know, with all the details. We are yet to see what it says, you know, on the ground. Because beyond putting it, writing the text, you don't need anybody to tell you that Accra will flood next year. And we don't need anybody to tell us that poor sanitation issues, poor drainage systems, the way we are building on waterways are the reasons why there are floods, you know. So that is the cover of that book. But what is being done, you know, all the things that are captured, it talks about a letter from the mayor. That was when Ajay Soa was the mayor of Accra. You know, we also have Accra's priority stresses. It tells about what our priority stresses are, you know, what the issues are. It also talks about Accra's priority shocks. You know, it talks
and that one is very interesting because the priority shocks tells you that the first thing that will hit the city and threaten the city is actually flooding. Okay. Anything, so the priority shocks basically refers to those things that will threaten the city. The existence of the city. And the number one in Ghana is, in Accra, is flooding, you know, even way beyond fires and disease outbreaks and all of that. Flooding is, and you know, one of the things that will threaten the city.
It explains that dumping of waste in drains results in choked drains, which reduces drain efficiency and leads to flooding.
So we know, but we're not doing anything about it.
That is my issue. So we have written it beautifully, you know, but what are we doing about it? This is a document put together by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. So I mean, it's perfect, you know, to let us know that these are the problems. But beyond just putting the document together, what is being done? Now, you remember growing up, we had refuse dams in communities and all, you know, you could just go to a designated place to throw your rubbish away. We'll come back to that. But we have Ni Ayukwe of City News standing by. We're talking to him now. Hello, Ayukwe. Welcome to Breakfast Daily. Hello, Ni.
Hello, Frema.
Right. Welcome to Breakfast Daily. Where exactly are you and what can you tell us from where you are?
Hello.
Yes, Ni, I'm asking where exactly you are in the city and what you can report to us. Right, so it looks like Ayukwe is not with us. I can hear him in the background engaging some other people. But let's go to Duke.
Hello.
Duke, welcome to Breakfast Daily.
So this is the stretch from the new Obiche-Bilamte overpass that is being constructed towards Kaneshi First Light. Now, yesterday night I was here to find out what was going on and how the construction has affected what usually would be an area that floods from time to time. The morning after, the flood waters is receding, but would want our viewers to know what transpired yesterday. I have with me Mr. Geoffrey Ellie. He is a driver of a commercial transport vehicle. Now he would quickly tell me what his experience was last night in the course of the rains. So Ellie, me pacho a day na e course so enra anaju.
Andura ne me free abushiba. Na ma say so na tono e free over no suru nti medu map so na so be yiri mi kan na me paka no na me peka to bi kan spark bi no paki share over na so na me so me two battery share kan ase. Ti medu share we on ma say so no over ni so ni free on mu abetai be bia on na be bizu free say. Nti ho na ma nti kase nyina gina e. Kase nyina gina nti e gina wo sa boy 8 9 sila so ntwi ne kase no mu gina ho. Nti nipa no kra mutimi ko no mu nya ko gu hye ho no mu nyina gina wo sa na ma say so se mi so mi so gba kakra so no ma me nko enem na mu sa na me fa nti sa na me si kofie me kofruka kan hye me ko.
So he's telling us about the impact that usually this is a place that he would move about easily, but because of the level of the flood waters and how that crept up, it even affected his battery and his movement from this place. What would you want to be? Then I'll say problem with a bit me everyone. I bet solve your man everywhere because I idea every year be almost every time be I see.
adukɔ mi pati mu nye sɛ ɔn sɛ overhead na so ɔno debia nso to kakra bi pɛ ne nso no agye wɔn nyinaa fa nti fa sɛ ɔhɔ no ɔmo yɛ ni ɔn sɛ gɔta wɔn mu no ɔmo yi gɔta mu yie na ɔhɔ no gɔta mu yɛ ni yie ne nso ne yɛ dɛ ne nfa ase no nkɔ ɛsɛ bola na ɔmo yɛ no ɔmo hwehwɛ ɔmo yi nipa a ɔdidi gu bola na ɔmo kyi no ne na ha ne nyɛ krɛ ɛsɛ na ha debia problem wɔ hɔ fia ndura fia sɛ na ɛbrɛ ndura mi ka o mi ka mama ka ka lɔki sɛ nka obi bɛ to ika no nso ɛ kɔ nso ɛ wɛni mi ne kakra de fia mi ɔmba 6 fia ndɛ sɛ mɛ sakotɔ nyima asɛ o mɛ kɔtɔ ɛnyi jiwɔl sakɔ mi bia ɔyɛ fita asai ɛsɛ mi kɔtɔ fura sama yɛ kaa no nti ɛsɛ na ɔmo ha yɛ edi kakra ɔmo ha yɛ nti aban ɔmo bɔ yɛ ne ɔso saa yɛ ɔnyɛ vigin ntɛm vigin na ɔsɔ ɔyɛ ne ntɛm ɔyɛ ɔyɛ ntɛm nka kasa problem nyinaa ɛmba ade no ɔmo yɛ kyɛn no ma gya ɔkyɛn no ma gya ɛsɛ na ɛbɛ fɛti yɛ ɔmo ti yɛ brɛ nti ɛma nya ne.
So Mr. Eli wants the construction to move at a faster rate, obviously, so that the issues associated with the construction, sanitation issues around, sanitation issues around the construction should be fast tracked at a quicker pace, so that all these issues would go. And it's most importantly calling for large storm drains around, so that the water can recede quickly, which would prevent the issues associated with his car that has broken down now, that he will have to go and fix it at an extra cost, which will also have economic implications for his family. So that is Mr. Eli, who's been speaking to us about the challenge that the practical implication of the floodwaters here on the stretch from the new construction, that's the overpass, towards the Kaneshi First Light. Mr. Eli, that was yes, sir. Thank you very much. We would also engage another person who is also a trader, a businesswoman around here, who will tell us what the impact of the floods yesterday has been on her business. Yes.
Okay, yesterday around let me say 5, it started drizzling. But actually, I'm ready to talk of last week's, because when they started this road, they should have at least do everything possible so that we wouldn't get stuck when there is flood. And last time government came around, taking notes of, let me say, a Zoom Lion box, and up to now they haven't brought it. We have to go around, search for individuals who do that job, and even if they come, sometimes they take it, go and leave it at another shop, which is very bad. If we all have bins in front of our shops and we are doing this routine, let me say, clean up and all this stuff, I think it's going to help us. It will bring this less flood, you understand? But government is not really helping. We don't have to we don't have to beg the government to come to our aid. He knows what he has to do. As starting a project, we will not get water regularly. We will not get clean water and all this stuff. So at least you should put things in measures before everything was started. Just last week, we've lost a lot of products, right, which is not helping. You understand? And the youth are suffering. So should we run a loss because of rains? After you guys will come to ask for taxes, and where are we going to get it for you?
Usually, construction will take some time. Were you engaged before this whole process started?
No, I didn't know about this. I know about this. It just started during, let me say, last year. It just started. We weren't informed. You understand? We weren't informed. But I think communication is the key. So government should try as much as possible that engagement of the other traders. We have this union here. You could come out, give notes, so that we will engage ourselves. We give certain ideas, or we should all contribute our ideas here, so that we know how to go about. You just be there and they'll start a project. You just be there, they'll say this. You just be there, they'll say that. Where are we going? They know it. They can do it. They know it better than us. They've been going outside. They know what's going on there. So please, governments, we beg you, come to our aid. I don't have to beg you. You know what you should do. So please, they are calling upon you. Okay, thank you very much.
So, Freeman and Kweku, these are essentially the sentiments of the people who live and work around this place on a daily basis, especially its impact on commercial activities, and then the construction. So, main solutions are proposing a bigger storm drains around. Construction should be quicker, and if there are some anticipated challenges, those around should be engaged so that they can also go about earning their daily bread and earning their keep in peace.
All right. Duke, thank you very much for that update there. So I mean, it looks as though the challenges are many. Challenges are many. I'm not sure exactly what the thinking is of city managers, you know, in terms of solving, you know. I think we need to stop the ad hoc temporary measures that we like putting in place. And we treat temporary measures as though they are permanent ones.
You know, and the lady raised a serious issue. That was what I was talking about earlier. Growing up, you would have refuse dumps in communities. But now, I understand because of health complications and all other issues, we are moving on. So these things are not ideal, you know, to have refuse in the middle of communities. But then, what proper management system have we put in place? Even for those who would want to get bins, you know, and put refuse in bins and all. Sometimes days, you know, when you go to our business districts, you realize that sometimes days bins are being overflowed with refuse and nobody is coming to pick them. In other areas, do you ask yourself how many people can actually afford, you know, to pay tricycles, to pay waste management companies to come for their drains? So what happens is, when it rains, people begin to feel that, okay, so this is the ideal moment for me to throw, because in their minds, the water will sweep the rubbish away. But if it sweeps the rubbish away from your community or from your house, it gets somewhere, you know, it blocks the drain somewhere, and when it rains, it comes back to us. We are constructing and we are thinking of you know, concrete in every part, you know, with pavement blocks, with this, with that. We are thinking of aesthetics.
Tiles.
And we are not thinking of how we would deal with some of these issues, you know, and that is the problem. But let's go back, you know, to Ni Ayukwe. He is at Sahara. Oh, wow. Hi, Ayukwe. Welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Thank you very much.
So tell us what is happening there, morning after the floods last night.
Okay, so on Wednesday, Frema, we experienced a heavy downpour in Greater Accra and some parts of the country, and it rained for more than 3 hours, and you could tell that this entire area got very much flooded to the extent that you could not even dare make a step to where I'm currently standing, because this entire area got flooded as a result of a drain that is over here getting overflowing its banks. So that was the situation here yesterday, especially in the evening hours. But this morning, as I got here, I've noticed that the water has actually receded, but then you can still see the impact of the flood in this particular area at the Sahara in the Korle Klottey municipality. We've seen that people are actually reeling from the destruction of their personal belongings. We've cited a mechanic shop here, and then also a number of residents in quite a number of structures here who actually live in this particular area. These people were affected by the downpour because the flooding situation affected them in such a way that the water got into their rooms, and we've seen quite a number of them scooping water from their rooms onto the Sahara Park and then also the drain around. So that has been the situation here this morning. The water has receded, but then residents are still reeling from the impact of the flooding situation.
Right, so if you can explain to us, you know, how important this area that you are standing, the park that you are standing on, how important is it for the community? What goes on there? And with the way the place is, how is it going to affect them?
Okay, so if you know Sahara Park around Adabraka, well, you would know that there is quite a number of structures erected here being inhabited by some dwellers, and commercial activities are also take place here. We've seen, as I indicated earlier, a mechanic shop, people also undertaking the sale of car tires and other activities. So these people got affected. Yesterday on Wednesday evening, these residents here and commercial activity operators at this particular area could not even make a step to this particular area because the situation was very, very bad. But this morning it receded, and people are making frantic effort to ensure that the situation is brought under control and they are able to access their homes in peace. I should put it.
Yeah, and yeah, the people who are within the community there at the Sahara Park, have you spoken to any of them? How are they bouncing back from this situation that they've been in, the experience last night? How are they bouncing back from it? I mean, I can see the water level marked on some of the buildings, the structures there. It seems to have been quite high. I'm sure people's rooms got flooded and all that. How are they bouncing back?
Okay, so as I indicated, some are actually scooping water from their rooms, and the mechanic shop operators are also actually standing aloof because they don't know what to do currently, and so they've been able to salvage the situation by ensuring that the water is cleared from their operating area. But I would want to get in touch with some of these people and then find out from them the impact of the flooding on their activities, and also for residents here how they've been affected due to this particular situation. I have one gentleman with me here. I would want to speak to him and find out his experience with the flooding at this particular area, Dabarka, Sahara, precisely. Chairman, you're welcome to the City Newsroom.
Thank you.
Okay, so we want to find out from you, how were you affected by the flooding yesterday?
Okay, I'm the assemblyman of the area. My name is Hendrik Inobokina. You know, since '95 we started experiencing flood like this enclaves, and it's all to do with the Korle, Old Fadama area, where people started settling around that area, and we started having flood every year, every blessed year. We sometimes have 3 times a year flood. We are lucky this year we've had only one as at now. Even the last one that it rains, we thought it would come, but it didn't, because the Korle Clotte municipal, with my effort, we did some distilting and some dredging, and it was working. But you know, yesterday's rain was so heavy that we couldn't do anything about it, and it has to be like this, and we are in now.
Okay. So most of the time we attribute the situation to poor drainage system and also human activities. But then let's find out from you, could that be the case in this particular area, and what have you been doing about it?
Yeah, why is it that somewhere around the mountains didn't flood, and here is flooding? Why is it that when you go to Old Fadama, around the Lagoon area, we didn't receive any flood, and this place is flooding? Because that place is lower, this place is lower than the mountains, and that place is lower than here. So definitely there is something wrong at the where the water is supposed to move towards the ocean. You see that one? Secondly, our city is being choked. We have 16 regions in the country. What are we doing? Are we supposed to use only Accra as a city? We should have a plan so that we move the congestion from Accra to somewhere.
Okay, but you are talking about congestion. Let's find out, as an assembly member, if someone raised a concern that the structures here are actually not supposed to be here, would you agree with the person?
I will not agree with the person.
Why?
Because winning of sand from the mountains, cutting down trees, the climate change, all is attributing to this. We were here before we started having floods. estate developers. They are cutting down trees. They are building. They are doing all sorts of things. Who is checking them?
Right.
Nobody is checking them.
Okay.
Sahara, Adibaka, this place was sea sand. When I was very young, sea sand, we play on the sea sand. And today, look at the way the place is.
Okay. So yesterday, how did you see the situation? Paint the picture to us.
Yeah, it was, in fact, it stopped raining. The rain, came down before the even water started coming. So it was not getting its way to the ocean.
Right.
So it came back speedily, and the place started flooding.
All right.
Okay.
And nowadays, to look at something. Places that are not supposed to be flooded is flooding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not only Sahara alone,
Thank
not
you,
only
Lee.
Odona alone, but move to elsewhere.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. So you heard the assembly member for this particular area also sharing with us his experience of the flooding situation on Wednesday evening and then through to Thursday morning. We've been here at the Sahara Park at Adabraka. We would want to get closer to some of the...
We'll come back to you later, but you just hold on for us there. So that is Ni Ayikwe at Sahara here in Adabraka.
Yes.
You know, so these are some of the issues. In fact, this morning, I'm actually waiting for the MPs, you know, as usual, to go around, you know, to make it look like they are sympathizing with the people, but they will finish and go, and we don't have a proper holistic approach to this. I mean, Sahara, every time you see Zanetta Rawlings coming over, I mean, she will do what she can do, but that is how far it goes.
Yeah.
Collectively, how are we addressing the issue? The assemblyman spoke about people winning sand, people felling trees, and all. These are human activities that we are all contributing to the floods in the country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the truth of the matter is that somebody wins sand illegally, but there's somebody responsible for arresting and dealing with it. Is that being done? That's what we need to ask ourselves.
Well, we'll be asking that as well. But in the meantime, we have the Regional Director, National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, here with us, and he'll be joining us via Zoom. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Archibald Kobna. Welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Now, give us an assessment of last night's rainfall.
Well, I think that... first of all, let me take the opportunity to greet all our cherished listeners. I think that we had the downpour and we had quite a number of areas getting very flooded. And when it happens like that, a lot of people lose their properties. We have areas like the East, Abokobi, Pure Water, like you said, Sahara areas. First Light, some part of First Light, Adenta, Fulani, Frafraha, quite a number of areas that were quite wet and flooded. So as a disaster management, what we do is that, you know, we have what we call the early warning systems. And so once we get to know that we're expecting rains, we put all our men on alert and ensure that they move in. Our operations team are on alert. So as it starts, we move in, and once we get calls, then we move in to ensure that we save lives and properties as much as we can. We have areas that we have. Hello?
Yeah, you are on.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. Please go on.
Hello?
We can hear you, right? If you can hear us, you can go on, Mr. Kobna. Right, so, you know, Mr. Kobna was telling us about measures that they also put in place because they also kind of figured that this was going to happen. And so they had their men, you know, ready to move in to save lives and property. So I'm sure we will reestablish contact with him and we'll get more details. So
one of the questions that I want to ask him is the the jurisdiction that they have as NADMO. Because it says disaster management.
Yes.
Now, I would imagine disaster management also requires you to prepare for disaster situations, potential disaster
Yes, so
situations.
we have him back. Thank you for joining us again, Mr. Kobna. You were telling us something.
Yes. So in all the districts in Greater Accra, every district you will find NADMO there. We've done quite a lot of educational program, as the name goes, disaster management. And as part of disaster management, the Director General of NADMO, that's Eric Nanajiman Prempe, since he assumed office, has been pushing all of us to the pre-disaster aspect. In disaster management, we have the pre-disaster, during disaster, and post-disaster. Pre-disaster,
right, Mr. Kobna, talking about, so we've had the pre-disaster, now the disaster has come. Between last night and this morning, how have you responded to distress calls? What exactly have you done?
We have gone out there, we have been able to rescue people from their homes. In Accra, for example, where we were yesterday night, we rescued almost about 10 families, people who were trapped in their homes. We have our men in pure water also rescuing some people. We pumped a lot of water out of people's homes. And also we were on the grounds almost everywhere as much as possible. To ensure that those were hello.
Yes, you are on.
Go ahead.
That distress calls that came in, that we will respond promptly. I must say that as NADMO, we work with stakeholders, and therefore we had institutions like the 48th Regiment who were also with us on the grounds. So we ensure that as much as possible, all the distress calls that we had, some of the media houses, some of your good self and other sister stations that called and informed us too, we responded to it.
Yeah,
I think that the flooding, yes. You wanted to ask?
No. So I was going to ask that. I mean, I think that NADMO does a pretty good job when it comes to post-disaster management, helping people out, restocking people's homes and whatever it is that they need to survive the immediate period after the disasters. What I'm interested in is, as part of disaster management, what are some of the interventions you do to forestall potential disasters? So like in this case, for example, when rainy season, rains are going to come. Likely there will be floods. Are there any measures you put in place to forestall these kinds of situations?
Well, thank you so very much. I think that that will bring me to a certain point. For example, when you look at the causes of the flooding that we're having, you look at dumping of the major areas that is causing a lot of these things has to do with people building indiscriminately in waterways, people claiming wetlands, like the Ramsia site, like the Peshi Lagoon, like the Otojo Lafa. We used to have ponds, and I heard the assembly member speaking about why the fact that people up the mountain do not get flooding situations, and those of us who are down here do. This is why I want to also require that all of us should support, for example, the works that our current regional minister is embarking on. For example, the extent of flooding that we are having right now, if it were not for the moving of the Agbobloshi, those who were at the onion sellers there, yes. And then you have those behind the Bahama and all those other areas. And I'm sure you heard him, the assemblyman, speak and says that the old Dama area.
Yeah.
These are things that we all need to support this great man who is moving Greater Accra forward and is supporting us in our work and ensuring that people who are encroaching moved. But sometimes when some of these things are being done, you have hue and cry here and there because people feel that people have built their properties and why they've been pulled down and all of that. You know,
right,
and
Mr. Kobna.
Yes.
Yeah, but I want to find out from you how well resourced NADMO is, in dealing with such gravities of disasters, because it appears that from now we are going to be experiencing huge floods. How do you do your duties? Are you well resourced?
Well, the issue of resources, NADMO works in collaboration with stakeholders. And for example, the district assemblies, the 48 regiments, the Navy, and all other stakeholders. And so, to the extent that the various assemblies, we've had the Director General has made provision for cars for every region, for some of the districts. They are working on ensuring that all the districts get vehicles. The regional minister is also working some to support the NADMO. I think that we have a operations team on standby. We have our EOC, and we have our men on the ground. So to that extent, yes, we are ready and we are prepared to continue to do the work that we do to ensure that properties and lives of people are salvaged. And that's why I want to go back again to that issue. The issue of the support for the work of the regional minister. And
you go to the work of the regional minister. We'll go to the work of the
reason is that hold on, madam. The reason is that all of these things that senior man is talking about, the pre-disaster work and all of that, it all boils down to that. Because when we have a firm political will, the strong will to ensure that we do the right things, that the necessary steps that have to be taken are taken. Let me give you an example. For example, with the Ramsey site, the regional minister has called all the various departments, agencies, the Forestry Commission and all of them, the assemblies, and brought everybody on board. Some people have gone to court, and he's also put a legal team that is working to ensure that we will get there where we clear a lot of these things. Once we begin to do that, then we send a clear signal that those who are in East, Abokobi, those who are around Otojo, the Lafa areas, and those who are doing all of these things with impunity, who know that we are all supporting this man, we are all on board, put our shoulders on board to ensure that the institutions are working. The various municipal and district assemblies, the engineers, who are supposed to be checking the building. You don't have people going to buy their own paint and write on their buildings as they, produce permits themselves, and then they continue building.
Yeah.
We need to ensure that some of these things are clear. The assemblies should be empowered. That's why I'm saying some of these things. And when you have these kind of works that have been done, we need to encourage him to ensure that we can carry this thing a step further.
Okay, Mr. Kobna. Mr. Kobna, we need
and it's a serious part of the pre-disaster or disaster prevention, flooding prevention.
Thank you very much. Thank you for speaking to us. Mr. Archibald Kobna is the regional director for NADMO. Now, he was raising the issues of supporting the regional minister in his work. But I think for me, I'm more interested in NADMO itself.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Because they also have their mandate, to
So we'll come back to this conversation. Yeah. We'll go on for quite a longer period, because this is a serious issue that we need answers from all quarters, and we'll be doing just that. Now, this is Breakfast Daily. We'll be right back after this break.
All right, welcome back. And we're still discussing floods and flooding situations. Wherever you may find yourself, send us a message. How was it for you last night? What part of country do you live in? Do you live in Accra? Do you live outside Accra? What was going on where you are? The hashtag is Breakfast Daily. The WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. Please let us know what was going on in your community last night. The rains went, from in some places up to between 3 and 4 hours of rain that we had. Okay, and we have got some messages coming through.
Yeah.
Let me read a couple of them. Somebody, Wafakojo in Koforidua says, response from NADMO and municipal assemblies this morning. Finally, the rain stopped. Let's call the press, media, and tour the areas affected. Say a few things. Mark some houses to demolish. Let's repeat the same exercise next year. Oh, Amagana, till when? Hashtag Breakfast Daily. Wolanyo in Equitia says, Frema, the remedy to the floods in the city is simple. Let us have a resettlement of the capital to a different location. Accra is choked with filth and improper planning. Another one here is coming from Ni Mbachona. He says, good morning, Team City. I hear you mentioning most of the areas that got flooded last night. Interestingly, I have not heard anything as regards major waterways in those areas that are either blocked intentionally by developers or heavily desilted. All the floods we're experiencing are human-induced. If any of you grew up in Adabaka like myself, you would appreciate why Adabaka has become a flood-prone area. Now, Ni, we have been talking about desilting, areas that are choked, building and waterways and so on and so forth. So keep following the conversation.
Right, and just as Mr. Kobna of NADMO said that his men are on the ground, our men are also on the ground, doing our own assessment of the impact of the floods last night. So we have Duke still in town. Hello, Duke.
Hello, Frema. Hello?
Right, so Duke, tell us where you are currently and what the situation is there now.
Well, this is the Dakuman Kokompe, very, very notable on the landscape of the city for its auto mechanic industry, in the sense that this is a place where many people bring their cars to be fixed. A lot of mechanics and a lot of shops for spare parts and others around. The main challenge here, as we've been told, engaging persons who work here, is that this is an age-old problem caused by the storm drains that runs from Odoko through to this place, on this part of the stretch. Now we'll talk to a couple of people who work here and live here on a daily basis to share with us what really the challenge is in this area. The problem has also been compounded.
Before you talk to some residents and some business people there, we can see, on our screens, a collection of plastics, and it's like it's in the drain. Tell us a bit more about that situation and the sanitation in general in that area.
Please, can you, your question again, please?
So we are seeing on our screens a collection of plastics, bottles, polythene bags, other stuff. I think on your left-hand side, just behind the gentleman seated over there. Tell us about sanitation issues in that place before you go on to engage other persons.
Well, from what I have witnessed, I mean, there's a huge, it's an issue. It's a serious issue here. But those around tell me that it's as a result of the storm drain that runs from Odoko to this place, which carries all the plastics and all the debris, the plastics, the rubbish, for want of a better word, from that side up onto here. So all of that are after effects, of the floods from yesterday. That's how come all this is here. And of course, they believe that it is the work of the city authorities to have cleared this at this point in time. So that is what explains the situation here, where we have a lot of plastics, which we've been told is as a result of the flooding that came through the storm drain from Odoko up until this place, up to this place.
Wow.
Well, so please go on and engage some of the persons and let them share their experiences with us.
So we would engage a couple of residents here to talk to us about what they feel is the cause of this issue. There's also a pothole here, a serious pothole in the middle of the road that's just next to the storm drain at Kokompe, which also slows down a lot of vehicular traffic, and that is also compounded usually when the rain actually comes down here at Kokompe. But I'll go ahead and engage a couple of the residents here to tell us what is actually what they make of the situation in this place.
Right.
So it's the morning after the floods here at Kokompe, which is morning after the floods here at Kokompe, a very, very bustling area. A lot of people come here with their cars to get it fixed. I will engage one of the persons who does business here. Madam, please, you are engaged in. This side.
Yes.
Now, share. Hasea, send your Hasea after flood now. What's my check Accra? First of all, then now UGD said the flood no ebaha.
Okay. On say one case we need here. Take away rubber and votive rubber no. And then ra tinsi onu time ra no. Echoke and nsi onu yiri wo area anyina. And as I dey we achepa 96 na we JSS na me buy area. Up to now, me the same problem I have and no one film. And yes, so much a coin, no year my because I had a caught through article. And to me, pan a brush a coin in my Anya crown, massa, since you to Anya cry. Baby, I'm only in our flood. Yes, Leno. Yes, Leno. I am a car crying to me to move. Cousin to me to move, I cry. Tears lab bang upon the top. I'm not sure when on your my wine.
Rebecca said, "Be a harmony, crime, be a muspecia, Wabwam, rubbish near the other, much me a year free."
Bibi to say me say me ton idea. Me want me to go any, so I am a matron baller. And so be all on Yanisa. Obey your channels, you need Bobby Jim will go baller. So what I say. And to hear your way around, so my young boy, not baller need fini in your man. Yen so young boy, who not choky near the uncle for my mother.
So essentially, her concerns are that the rubbish, the plastic, and waste is brought here as a result of the storm drain that has not been dredged for quite some time now. She also raises concerns about the roads, the poor nature of the roads that must be fixed, which would ensure that there's a smooth flow of vehicular traffic around here. I asked her about what people in the area have also done to be able to clear the issue, the rubbish and the matters with regards to the issue, what they have done in terms of self-help to get to clear this to deal with the issues of sanitation. Tells me that on her own she does what she can to ensure that what she's engaged in, the food business that she's engaged in around here does not meet the standards in terms of hygiene.
Okay.
All right, thank you,
the main concern is about maybe be found.
Yes.
Right. Duke.
I had said the baby view our hamaya pa. Na had a blanca sa.
All right, Duke.
Nyakra. Human beings cannot pass, even cars.
Right, Duke. You may have to hold a brief there for now. We'll come back to you. Right? Okay.
All right, yes. And so we have standing by Professor Martin Obing Abebiu. He is the head of Department Geography and Resource Department of the University of Ghana. Good morning, Prof.
So good morning, sir. May I make a small correction?
Yes.
So I used to be the head of Department of Geography and Resource Development.
Okay.
I'm now the provost.
Okay.
Well done. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
All right. So there seems to be a plethora of challenges that is causing the perennial flooding, the situation that we find in Accra year after year. We don't seem to ever move away from this. Can we ever get over this?
So thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be with you. And good morning to your listeners. Mr. Host, I wonder if you can get cured of your sickness if you don't take the right prescription and the right medication. So this conversation has gone on for a very long time, and I always say that we are quick in solving the symptoms of the challenge instead of getting to the fundamentals. So once we only concentrate on the symptoms of why we are getting flooding perennially, then we should be expecting to get it always, because we've not tackled the underlying causes, the root causes of this problem that is befalling the country. The fact of the matter is that I heard you in your earlier submission talking about the fact that we are aware of climate change and people are not taking cognizance of that. I was wondering what people can do. If people can tackle the issue of climate change, then we don't need people to govern us. We don't. The fundamental challenge that we have is that we are not taking the right prescription, and that we are only quick in blaming the citizenry where officials don't fail to do what they're supposed to do. That is the basic principle. Everybody talk about people throwing rubbish in gutters as if they have other avenues to throw rubbish. People talk about people building in waterways as if you don't have people who are supposed to monitor where people build. As people think we consuming wetlands, as if we don't have people who are supposed to monitor where people build. Indeed, if we allow these things to go on and people consume the wetlands have their role to play in the urban environment. Yet we watch on unconcerned to allow these to be consumed, not by ordinary men, but people of power. Let's go to Dansoman and see what is happening there. Let's go to atomic energy, a land that has been earmarked for the Gary project. It's being consumed not by any other person, but people of substance. We go to East Legon, the pond there is being consumed. Go to Adenta. So my point is that once we are consuming wetlands and flood-prone areas without making the necessary drainage arrangements, and water would always find its own course. Perhaps that explains the reason why for the first time we had flooding in, for example, Cape Coast.
Yes.
Last year we did have in Kumasi, and we are having a serious one this year. All because we are consuming areas that hitherto used to store water and turning them into built environment. And once we do that, my good friend, the only thing that we would have is try to blame the citizenry for dumping waste, whilst in actual fact, those who are supposed to create avenues for people to are not doing their right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Prof, so the earlier comment I made about the climate change and our lack of decision making in this regard was actually directed at the authorities because we did pass the national climate change policy in 2013, as far back as 2013, but it doesn't seem to me that we've done much, and I stand to be corrected if we have done something in this regard, but it seems to me that we're very good at quickly penning down the signatures, agreeing to things, but implementation and follow through seems to be very slow, and if at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's in 2014, but then the truth of the matter is that we don't formulate policy for people. We formulate policy with people.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, they would own it. They'll be part of it. So if the experts sit in their ivory towers and formulate policies without the consent of those who are supposed to be the beneficiaries, and the implementation then tends to be very difficult. And I'm not surprised that we are still not where we are supposed to be in terms of our fight against climate change.
After,
right.
Yeah, go ahead, Freeman.
So Professor, you spoke earlier, about building in waterways and all that. But can you share with us, what the geographical setup of Accra is like and how we can follow that, in making sure that some of these measures we are putting in place will be followed through?
Freeman, thank you very much. A good question. So if you have ever used the Pokwase, Adenta through to Peduase Lodge.
Yes. The Ebri Road?
The Ebri Road, that's what I wanted to say. 10 years back, the place was forested, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Today, the whole area has been turned into a built environment. So once you pave that hilly area, you should expect the runoff coming from there to be very swift and ruthless. It's coming with a high speed and with debris. So the slightest rainfall, instead of going to the aircraft, runs down the hill. And that explains the reason why even the slightest rain get areas around the downside of the area get flooded. So the truth of the matter is that we have the geographical area map of Accra. We know where we have the marshy areas, which have been, for example, the Ramsar site has been demarcated and under the control of the authorities concerned. It beats my imagination how people allow these areas to be consumed with impunity. Let's see what is happening at Tema, the Ramsar site.
Yeah.
And the only thing that you would expect is that in the near future, those around the area, instead of getting the water sink into the aircraft to fill the water table, will be the recipient of the runoff. And unless we change some of these things, I'm sorry, we would be having this conversation the next time round.
Yeah, so talk to us also about sometimes the experience that we get where it's raining in one location and then it appears that without rainfall, another area is flooding. What's going on there?
So it's typical of Adenta. Okay. Adenta is on the downside of the Kapin Range. So it at times rains at the hilly side of Adenta, the Kapin region.
Yes.
But because Adenta is at the downside, and because there's no receptacle for the runoff, they get down to Adenta and get the whole Adenta flooded. That is the reason why, under the Gary project, they've suggested the construction of what they call the retention pond. So that at the point in time when the rains come down from the hilly areas, they will be retained, stored for a while, so that they can be discharging gradually, so that they don't cause the flooding that we are seeing.
Right, so this is where we end our conversation. Thank you very much, Professor. He is the provost of
the College of Education,
University of Ghana. But let's go back, to the fields. Ni Ayukwe is standing by, and I'm going to talk to him some more. Ni, thanks for joining us once again. So you are still at the Sahara. It's 9:30. What is the situation there now? People are still scooping. What is happening?
Okay. So, due to the heavy rainfall on Wednesday this morning, residents here at the Braka Sahara in the Koliklote municipality are still reeling from the destruction of their personal effect. And we've seen that some of the residents here are continuously scooping water from their houses, their shops, onto the park and into the drain here at the Braka Sahara. We've also seen quite a number of elderly people here sitting here. We want to find out from them what exactly the situation is, how they were affected by the flooding on Wednesday evening, and then also what they are putting in place to ensure that they bounce back to their business activities.
And if you can also find out from them, when it happens like this, how long does it take for instance, the park to dry up for life to come back to normality?
Okay, that's fine. Eja yamo achiano pe.
Yeah.
Bacho e frase.
Let me do.
Bacho ye pese. Okay, ye pese hu se anope enra nsuo toy anope nyoma te say.
Oh, and yet, you cry. Didn't tell me anything. So you talk a chiona about a high one.
Now you're there.
If it
okay, now no pay. Your person say how many hours they be taking and some more sanko mo juma so.
Take 2 days or 3 days.
And some more ya juma.
Yeah.
Na mo say how no pay.
And say you have 10 me juma. Yeah.
Okay, you share na ya ade a ta koso e wa ha.
Oh. Akoso pa, mpemfuna nga so mu ya we. Mpemfuna nga so mu ya we.
How no putting every.
What's it?
Issue na ngasa every.
If it up. And fi ha.
Gotana sisena last one no. Ahon we say yen biem.
Gota be na o ka ho ase.
Baby gota kese no. Gota kese no. On say ahon na yesumo. Ite say omu biem wi a. We say so no ebenya kon akọ. Ha ye ha bi.
Mpempi na ya mo nso mpenifo no bi kan so baby a nkrofo asisi dan ne bola ye de gugata no ni ade no so e kan ho bi. Oni omo ya ade.
Oh ampa onu de Ghana de enu an omo ye pa ba de be ni say I say yan kasa no yan hwe se na ebe ye na bola ayinu na stop
Inti anope aba ne say in the time ben na mo be ye adwan wo nua ka say bia sometimes did 2-3 days wo dia also time na be
sisi ni de say ha na nyina say nso ko cast mu nya mu nti na afi na ebe sese cast ni nyina mu asana na wo na no mu ba na ya de akere wo mu
cast dodo be say
oh cast no I say 3 or 4 nso ko mu ya pushi bebre ya yi bebre ba de want me kono anu de nso afa wo mu
ba chef ra say
e frame Kobi.
So you heard some mechanics here at Accra Sahara sharing with us the impact of the flooding on their business activity, and then also we would want to get closer and speak to more of these mechanics and find out how they intend to go about their activities for today. Ofantasha with them.
Ofana Samuel Atubi.
Okay. Sami Ofana Bomino Choi.
Ofana mu mechanic Jimmy.
Paint more picture on table this situation
ba like nu ke bie jomi o ke nu ejene kan hun ri hu ke hu hun ni se bi egbe bi egota ni bi egota nye flu ke ya e wo choko te ku ebu enseku o ke ebu enseku pe be bu pa ebu pa ke no ba be bu pa ke no ba o de mo ni ba pa ke be yi de mo ni ba be yi de mo ni ba be yi de mo ni ba be yi Wobolo ba le shino bi efe yi orani wo ke wo na kan sometimes ko wo fi fast be sane wo je ka se kumi ni wo je kumi mni meni ba nye fi aje kumi ni no movie once se na jam fast
wo na je okay because if
o ka gbe o de mo je me e ko mo je me je una je ngbe fin je e ko mo je me
wo nya je okay angba fan poten
wo je okay agon no gbe enu o ba eni ba na safe ku e ne ba ye bu awo je mgo wo ke ya
be ba atonye
to wo wonu oyo bi ele mo teme wo wogu
neke na boni situation na bale na tenye ba afete tenye ba atwe ni mene
o mele bo benu tumo dinu ke me unu ake nuji o me bi e wa amena ko chen ba han we bi o da ke nu boto to na mi e o na lazy
be ba ni situation afi we
ni woni bi fi o we si han wo because lord ne point e nu o je nu ebotimi nu na ngbele na
ka wa abenke je me wo kwa boni no ebotimi aka
right. So let's also find out from them. This is not the first time the area is getting flooded. Now, when it happens like that, the gentleman earlier said it's going to take between 2 to 3 days, from life to come back to normal. Now, how are they going to live? How would they eat? Because they are not working, money is not coming in. Now, the cars that have also been flooded, the cars that had water go into them, these, I believe, are people's vehicles they've brought, for repair works. Who is going to take care of the cost of damage?
Okay. No one tell wole ake bia ne nitro ne gian fitia no cheme tenye ba fetenya nye ba compensate am.
Wo ba nuchumo pie no ba tun e bia ne because ke ba na ke be sane wo famo ni BP control board ni ji brain board ni nye toni sane wa for na shami ke ni bi ke release ke ni bi ni o me ke na ke mi bon kana de no fen fiti be tun nyom wo bia ne ke je ngene ke ya be sane wo bu na kanu chumo no wo tu
bo yu ake ke bla ke chon nyom na mo nyom e chon
wo nyom e chon wo nyom ka ona go kweke ba ko akela ke ne ke ko na elole o de be o ke buti meje ja gbemiji nu
No, when you are coming when you tune, equal 2-3 days, then you are tune. Where I was couple, you know.
And I know one and quality when now couple of Quebec one. And in your fast depend on Kutumi, no pony, no, 5 city, no, no, this can you on Kutukumbiani, or only Bonima Pony Martian, me and I can be a pa. Ye be a pa. Or the missionary, Sanima, you have 30 Ghana every morning. Lord, many can be Bani. No mo bibi kuma elu ma babu shi ne bende ba ne bende kuma fi the sanima kwen ma kwato ne na enuchumu ni ma setting dani mama move
wala ke je na je kran no ne ba e ba da ne osusu mo mi no ba anyo fe no wo ke sa ne kan ni na
no ni mi na ke je boni abo na kan feeling so that kan gbeta to te kokko ba je me gota na abo gota feeling mo na mamotu ani blockage e ba gbe echi ke hanu e wonu enye ya to monsane yale e wonu enye ya bonsane yale eku ese e wo ke ku ese gota unje ne yale we enye flu e wo be ba shi ke ba shi be nu eku ose ke ba bi egbe ni bi egbe wo yo nu emi egbe wo yo to mi wo fen bata bi e oju wo na gba kin wo yo bi e wa se wo san na je me gota agbele kokon ba je me ena su me sabola je me gbe ati je wa me se o tabe so mo tun je me side gota ni o tan agbele je me ona ni e ke concrete na ba na wo concrete ni gota anya flu ke nya flu e ba wa wo fin loju na gba ni na
no de bale ne ken mini ji nu chumo nye ba atwe ye bia ne
bia ne ba ne ko to ne mama fam emi ni bi efin o ba fam emi ni bi efin seat ke ni bi ne efin bo na aba fam fin wo ka ba washing base ke ni bi no afoi ke ni ba afi ke ni bi engine le tafa che pe ko engine le ejo mu we wo le won plan na ba yi si ni bi ni electrical ni bi ni electronic ele no le san mo boy nuchumo no
me na la nuchumo ye wa
nuchumo ni yo ye shiska be e ya tonbo no nuchumo no nyo ake ka o na ake neke ko akele neke pe be nche e ba ke to ni ha bodo be bi e be safe no ji na
you are don akọ. All right, so you heard some mechanics here at Adabraka Sahara sharing with us how they were affected by the flooding due to the...
Summarize it for us in English, what he said.
Okay, so this mechanic is telling us that due to the flooding here as a result of the heavy rainfalls, the vehicle you saw in your shot earlier had been inundated with water, and then he has to move out some of the parts in order to ensure that the water is actually cleared off from the vehicle. And most of the time when it happens like that, they move some of the vehicles from this area because the whole place gets flooded. So they move them to higher grounds or a safer place to ensure that they do not get totally destroyed. And due to this situation today or for the next 2 or 3 days, they wouldn't be able to undertake any business activity here. They have to ensure that the situation is actually cleared or to normalcy so that they would be able to undertake their business activity. And more so, the owners of these vehicles would not take any excuses because they would say that they are not to blame because their vehicles are in your custody, so it's your duty to ensure that they are safe, and the cost that will be incurred will be at their loss. So they are concerned about this situation more, and they also indicated, the man actually also indicated that when it happens like this, they are not able to get adequate money to fend for themselves because he is a family man who has to cater for his family, but then due to this situation he wouldn't be able to do that within the next 2 or 3 days. So basically that was it that the man said in Gang. We want to still move through shop.
So just quickly,
David,
there's an aspect he was talking about a number of kids that he has and that he had only 5 CDs in his pocket and so on. Just give us that bit in English as well, just to give us a bit of context.
Okay, so he was saying that already business is not good, it's not booming, and he doesn't have much on him. Except a 5 Ghana cedi note, which is in his pocket. And so the situation would be compounded by the flooding. And he is expecting that maybe within the next 2 or 3 days, he would be able to make something out to be able to fend for his family. And you've seen in your shot there, one of the vehicles parked at the mechanic shop with a mattress on top. And then we've seen another vehicle also with a mattress on top, because the residents staying nearby have their rooms actually flooded due to the heavy rainfall. We want to get closer and find out how they are also coping with this particular situation.
Find out from them for us, you know. So we are hoping for some sunshine, but in case it rains again tonight or tomorrow while they wait for the grounds to dry up, what is going to happen? What measures are they putting in place, you know, just in case there's another rainfall coming?
That's fine. So I will get closer and then find out from them what they are also doing to ensure that this particular situation is handled in a very cool way. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Hello. Good morning. Yeah. We'll find a touch up with them. We'll talk about Western. If you want to money, you more name, money affecting. Okay, that's fine. So the man is quite engaged and he wouldn't want to speak now, but we would want to get closer and see if there are people around who would want to speak with us. Yeah, it's the flooding here at Adabraka, Sahara.
Yeah, but it looks like
this is something that occurs.
Where you are is where they where they move the cars to when it rains and the place is flooded, right?
No, this is still the mechanic shop because this area still gets flooded. So the man indicated that they actually moved them to either the streets or nearby places that are quite of a higher ground to ensure that the vehicles are not much affected. So this is still the mechanic shop where the vehicles are parked. But you have some residents nearby who also were affected by this particular situation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Frema, we are still moving through. We are still moving through the community, or I should say the area, to find out how residents have also been
the storm drain
affected.
down there, what does that look like? If you can show us what's going on there on the right.
Okay, so this is the drain, the outdoor drain. It actually links from Circle through the Sahara Park to other adjoining communities. That's the outdoor drain you see in your shot there, and choked. Part of it is choked with filth, as you can see.
You can see it.
There's not much of a free flow of the water. So that is it. I can hear some people actually scooping water in this particular area. I want to get closer and find out how. Okay, so that is it. The whole place is flooded. That is the situation here.
I see plastics littered all over the place.
Have been
so you see the
inundated
with the plastics have
in the water.
You know.
Okay, let me get closer. I can see a woman here. Mommy, Yamoachiano pay. You're not here. Okay. Have you been affected by the flooding yesterday? The water go your house inside?
Yes, you don't enter inside. See that woman? She dey enter inside. Hey, sister.
So, where are your things? Where are your things?
My sister.
Your things in the room. Have you packed them out?
And they don't come out inside. The fish say money.
Okay. So, we want to get close to other residents and then speak to them on the situation, because people are still scooping water from the Sahara Park here at Adabraka. Good morning.
Good morning, monsieur.
One time, when I get BNF, no more net much, we can be born or no more Tejaman.
No more Tejaman is shame for beer, no fiano, 80.
One of you are not more meaning. I
mean, blood of rubber, in your head 3 million, 80. Mamma G. Like no more Babanaka, can't almost share about women, no piety.
No one to feel it.
Nin young one born them on non work a. No one ever nephew ne. No nephew ne, Kahani. Eka honey, no more about more way. Ne, okay, about me few no, but no banana. What train abuni? kote jabia wanake washaje bo modu no ya ogbele sira no kwatwen washaje me fe no nyonwe ba no e ba se ofofo bi ni wo gbe papa le kete nwe
ofofo gbe le bebe serious
oh je mo bosani no shini komeni yo mi ni mi kometo makeji kanyo mo wana kanaba to mo boni obi wo no won wie ne aha wo noko kani e bade che na aja kote jeme oh bushkani
niji na me not mobi
ami lele wolo wole maniji no wo ba na kashi wo fe wo buashi ni nyonmo ne nyo fe wo buashi aha wo
right
no wanta wole ake miniji no nya fe bona fe ni kanyu mu ale no e ba be ko e ka affect nya pi na kan
no ni aba fe no ji gota gbo ka ji emi e ko le ke eba na ka chon
right
shika gota shia eyile ka je gota mi ho e ka shwe shie ka lo le do mo shi na jero na etemi lo le do mo shi ka je no etemi e ko eba wawo
all right
e mo fa bo shan blodo e na ke
so in 60 seconds and then you tell us what she said
ni mi nko ngale fro no hu nyonwe temi.
Alright, oh, you are done. So, in your shot, there is a woman, an elderly person for that matter, who actually bakes bread at Adabraka, Sahara. She has also been affected by the flooding in this area, and she is saying that whenever the situation occurs like that, hardly do they get any help from authorities. But she is suggesting that if authorities could enlarge the drain and also ensure that it is deserted, it will help to address this particular usual flooding of the community. And she also indicated that the rain actually went into her room to the extent that it got to her breast level. That's what she told us. So that is the extent of flooding at this particular area due to the rainfall on Wednesday evening.
Right. Thank you very much, Nee. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Frema, it looks like it's quite a dire situation that has happened there from last night's rains. I'm very curious to see, should we have more rains tonight or tomorrow night, you know, how much worse
is that is the problem right now, you know,
because the ground is already soaked with water.
Exactly, and the skies are not too bright.
And across the entire country, we're having this.
Yes.
You know, in different places. We had it in Eastern Region, we had it in Cape Coast. Of course, Prof mentioned Cape Coast. We had it in Techiman as well.
The Bunanahafo areas as well, you know. Yes. So this is not just an Accra issue. So we are dealing with a national crisis. This is a challenge that we have across the nation. And so year in, year out is beginning to look like we have to really make frantic efforts to handle floods in the country, because this is an issue that has taken a national turn, you know, and so it's very important that we look at it from that area. But what is the weather looking like, and in the coming days, how is it going to be?
We need to know that. Well, we do have Joseph Potofi, Mr. Joseph Potofi, with us. He's the head of forecasting at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Good morning, Mr. Potofi.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
By His grace, you are doing very well.
Okay. Can you give us a sense of what the projections are like for the next few days?
Yes, with the downpour yesterday over most part of the country. Yes, we'll get a breather. And then hopefully in the 2-3 days time, we'll get another rain.
Okay, so at what point, considering last night's rain, at what point were you aware that we were going to have rains across the country last night?
Oh, way back Monday. You know, Monday we do what we call a child discussion, where we analyze most of the products and then come out with the national forecast. So way back at Monday, we saw it coming. We saw a lot of convergence zones over the country. And when we have convergence and then we have cyclonic flows, it means a lot of moisture will get into it. And at a lower level, when you have a cyclonic flow, it means those moisture will ascend up into the atmosphere. And when they are sent up and you have a divergent field up there at level 200, then it definitely, when it falls rain, it will definitely rain. So we saw it Monday. And the system that also came was a well-organized system from Nigeria. Initially, it was moving into the coast. Then when it got inland, it moved inland. Then because we see a lot of convergence zones over the country, it feed into that convergence zone and it blew up.
Okay. Are you able to predict, for example, you said it was coming towards the coast. Are you able to predict before it moves inland that by the nature of, whatever the circumstances are, that this is the direction it's going to go? Or once it starts moving, you just have to wait to see where it ends up?
No, we are able to predict because you must look at the winds at various levels. And the winds will tell you we have what we call the steering wind. So when you look at your steering wind and you look at the direction of the steering wind, then you know that, no, this one, the course will definitely change. So it's signs. We are able to tell the direction of the rain, yes.
Right, so if you can quickly just let us know how the month is looking like, how heavy the rains are going to be and what advice you give.
Oh, well, since we are in October, I will always say that, yes, we should expect more rains until first week in November. So my only advice is that, yes, people know where they live, we don't know where they stay, people know where they have been committed to. So when they hear that it's going to rain, they should avoid. At least yesterday I was in town, I know it will rain, but when it was raining, I parked.
Okay.
And the rain will not take the whole day of your time. So just if it is 1 hour or 2 hours, just park somewhere. There will be flash floods because of our nature of doing things. So after an hour or two, those flash floods will subside, and then you can move on. But if you want to walk in the flood, you don't know what is ahead of you. Your property and your life might be at stake.
Right. Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Potofi. He is head of forecasting, Ghana Meteorological Agency. But we still have our men on the ground. Duke is still with us, and we'll go over to him. Hi, Duke. Right, so we will get to Duke very soon. But in the meantime, we have some messages coming in.
Yes, we do have a lot of messages coming in. But I just want to make a quick comment on what Mr. Potofi said there, that sometimes you have flash floods. Now, flash floods are basically very rapid moving waters. During a flood, you have portions of the flood that are very, very fast moving. And he said that their best advice is, if you're driving, park your vehicle. Don't attempt to cross fast-moving waters. Absolutely. It's very critical. All right, now some messages coming through here. This one says, I am Ayariga Matthew from Zibila in Boku district. I think some people in Ghana have to be punished severely for building alongside water bodies. And also the town and planning council, he says, should also up their efforts in this regard. And another one here. Good morning to the best TV station in Ghana, City TV. We are watching the show live in Accra, Babi Optical Eye Center in Makola from Inshiraba, Mr. Inshiraba.
Right, so Duke joins us now. Now, Duke, if you have moved from the Dakuman area, where exactly are you now and what's going on there as well?
This is on the main Cape Coast to Accra highway, specifically Kaneshi, just adjacent to the Accra Academy School. And what I can tell you is that the traffic situation is heavy because an alternative route, the outer lane, that could have facilitated the flow of the traffic. As I speak to you, there is a huge pothole. Even if jovially, you may want to even call it a manhole, which is seriously disrupting the traffic flow here. It's clear the impact of the flood last night. The water has not been able to seep down. The pothole or the manhole, for want of a better word, has collected a lot of the rainwater, and a place which, if fixed, could facilitate the flow of traffic from that side towards the main Accra route or the main circle route. It's not there's actually no work going on here. Or I can say that people cannot use commuters, public transport, and all the vehicles that are moving towards that side cannot use the stretch because of the work, because of what is currently going on here. We can see some form of construction equipment nearby parked by our car, but we don't see any work actually currently going on here. So that's the situation here. Traffic is moving very slowly. because an alternative route and the outer lane which should have been used has a lot of water. Even if cars want to use it, it may not even be good in terms of the parts of the cars and what is actually going to pertain here. So that's really the situation here.
And this is the Kaneshi area.
This is
there's traffic.
First light.
Yes, this is the Kaneshi area.
Okay.
Just before you get to the main entrance of the Accra Academy School.
Okay, so this is like the first light area.
Yeah.
This is the Kaneshi first light area.
Right, right. Thank you very much, Duke. Kweku, so this is it, a picture of how Accra is looking like today.